All right, we're back here with Gabe. How are you, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. My favorite nickname in hardcore. So thank you for being a part of this. We've known each other for a while, and you've photographed probably three-quarters of the bands I've recorded in my career already, and are one of my favorite photographers in our world, and are pretty much the everyman in our scene as far as your relationships and the people that you know. So I feel like you have an awesome perspective of what our culture is like currently. So I'm excited to talk to you about all that. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's catch the people up who are listening, who aren't in bands and haven't had a chance to maybe meet you. To give me a little background of like how you got into photography and how you kind of transitioned from just a kid who went to shows to like being pretty much the sought after photographer in this world.
Uh, I kind of just picked up a camera when I was like, I think 16. I kind of always wanted to work with like cameras and stuff. So when I used to skate a lot, I just wanted to, just document skating. And then obviously music has always been there my whole life. So when I turned 18 and started driving and stuff, I started going to shows more. And I always had my camera on me, just went from there and did it for 4 years. So 22, I got offered to tour with Twitching Tongues. So that was the first band that like took me out. So like 4 years of just photographing every local show that came through the closest to me. Just kind of went from there.
Pretty cool. How did you hook up with Twitching Tongues? Did you know Taylor or those guys beforehand?
No, just do like shows. So like one day I'm like at a show just a couple miles away, and I get an email from him. It's like, hey, he basically hired me to do like not even like show stuff, and kind of from there we kind of just built like a relationship, and so we knew each other from there. And a couple months later, he hit me up saying like, hey, we need a merch guy for our tour coming up. You down to do it? And I was like, yeah, definitely. Get in somewhere. So did that, and we got to do 4 tours with them. So I got to do 2 Hatebreed tours with them, and we got to go to Europe, and that was super awesome. Just been at it since. So
I love I think one of my favorite parts of this world is like once you get in with the right community, you start, you meet people from other bands and stuff. It's so easy to just like help each other. Like, oh yeah, this dude's awesome. Like go out with this band, go on tour with this band. And like everybody, like you immediately like your circle of friends and the people, and the people that are down to help you out. Like it just blows up so fast,
It's crazy to me because it's like you start to see how like, you meet one person, you become friends with that one person, then you meet like 5 other people, so it's like with me and like Stray, it's like, meeting them, then I met you, and then I meet like Randy, and then I meet like Steve, like all the studio folks, and then like I meet, their friends, and then, it's just crazy how like it's all like a big community that you don't, for someone like me who used to see it from the outside, you're like, oh, these people don't like know each other, and you realize how small this like community of music is, and it's like cool to see for me.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's part of, when I was in high school, I was like the only kid in my school who really kind of fucked with this world. And I didn't have a ton of friends because, in high school, a lot of your identity is like the kind of music you listen to, how you dress, all that stuff. And then I just went to a couple of hardcore shows and then just had 100 friends, and it was just immediately awesome, welcoming, culture that, I still have friends from that time to now,
Yeah.
And I mean, your perspective now that you've sort of been around with all these different bands, and I mean, you're at every single festival, you're in other continents with these bands, you've met the locals from all these scenes. I mean, you're pretty well, circulated around the globe. With everything that's going on right now, like in all the people you've met, like I'm sure you've had a ton of conversations. Like, what's the perspective? Where's your head at with what the hardcore community and what all your friends are thinking and stuff. I'm interested because for me, I feel like you would have had this conversation so many times by now, you know?
Uh, it's kind of, you know, it's a lot to take in because like every day, you're hearing about so many, it's just, this, last night you hear about that girl passing away, and it's like she was missing for a few days, and it's kind of like reality is like a very like hard pill to swallow right now, and it's like conversating with my friends about it. It's just like, you know, it kind of makes you feel uneasy because it's like, but like I don't really know how to like explain how I feel about it. It's hard to take in. It's kind of yeah.
I mean, what I do enjoy, I like that as soon as things start to escalate and get really bad, that you are one of the more vocal people right away, and you're doing a bunch of charity work right now too. And you should mention what you've been doing online, because I think a lot of you found a way to use your photography career to sort of fundraise and generate money. And I think it's a good idea to talk about that, because a lot of people who aren't, a lot of our friends are in bands, and it's easy. I wouldn't say easy, but it is kind of easy to just chuck a t-shirt up online and say like, hey, buy the shirt, support this cause. And, it doesn't take much energy, but you're not a guy who sells t-shirts. So you found another way to fundraise, which I thought was pretty awesome. And, I got a few prints from you too, which were really cool. So talk a little bit about that, and like maybe about other creative ways people can get involved right now and help fundraise, help support this cause.
Yeah, so I did so I hit up a handful of bands, so 14 bands I think. Just bands that I've photographed over the past few years, bands that I've worked with too, and just bands that I felt have like, felt very sincere on like what their message is as a band, like what they believe in and stuff. So I set up a darkroom page and put together some quick posters of each band, and I finished the charity thing for it last night, and we raised $5,100, which is, for me, I was pretty like stoked on that because I did not even expect $1,000.
Yeah, of course, that's awesome.
So it was awesome because bands like Incendiary, Jesus Peace, Stray, Knock Loose, they all like they all promoted it, and I felt like that goes the furthest way because they have a way bigger platform than I do, obviously. So like it was just cool to see folks from obviously like US ordering here, but like getting orders from Germany, Australia, the UK. Like for me, that's like super cool. And just like bands like Mind Force, they put up that pre-order shirt 2 weeks ago, and I think in like 48 or 24 hours, they raised $10,000. So for me, like, I got to get involved some way that I can. And being a photographer, obviously, I can't just put up a shirt, because I don't have a platform as a band. But for me, it's like I have all these photos, I can do something with them. So it kind of just came to me just out of the blue, and I was like, oh, let me see how this goes, and
Yeah, I mean, what we had, I think we have like a parallel here, because, and I think it's something to talk about, like how to organize, because I reacted immediately to what happened the same way you did. I was like, I want to do something. I don't know what to do. I don't really have a voice where I feel like I should be speaking for the Black community, but I have resources. So how can I use these to, give platforms for the right voices, and also to fundraise for charities who are experts at dealing with these matters? And I think, maybe a lot of people who feel powerless right now, or helpless, or don't know how to help, or don't know, want to support the Black Lives Matter movement, but aren't as fully educated on it, and don't feel comfortable using a platform publicly. It's like, organizing is and fundraising is a really important part of this, because it is going to be a long-term fight, and I know I keep saying this, but it's like this type of problem doesn't go away overnight, and we need things like you just do with the photography charity, and like we need people to start getting creative, and especially white people, honestly, because it's like we can vote and we can be allies in this cause and be supportive, but like we have to give the resources and the tools to the Black community, or help them give the resources and the tools to them, so that they're able to take this cause further than somebody like myself could take it. And I think grassroots style fundraising shit like that you're doing right now, and raising thousands of dollars, in a creative way, is such a good testament to like why I love this scene, and why the people that are in our circles are awesome. And I think anyone who's wanting to get involved should just think about how they could use their resources in a way that you just did.
Yeah, and like for me, like I said, like it kind of just clicked, and like going forward, it's like like you said, the fight doesn't necessarily end, because I can't just this is something that it'll get better, and then as time progresses, it'll stoop down into like a place where it doesn't need to be. So I'm hopefully I can like figure something out myself that I can keep like a pattern going, so I can keep like donating or doing what I do to help out, whether it's the Black community, the Hispanic community, which for me, like I'm Hispanic, so it's like I still see like everything that goes on in like the world for like Hispanics, and like so just very glad I was able to use all my as much resources as I could to like do what I could do for this like specific thing, because it's like I donated to the Minnesota Freedom Fund as soon as I saw the link, and I was like, cool, but I was like, like right now, like obviously missing work from not being able to tour, it's like I don't have too much money to give, so what can I do to use what I've learned, everything that I've gained from what I do to so it's just I'm very stoked that it had that response, and so
Yeah, it's awesome, man. And I think I hope we continue to see all of the bands in our world. I worry that a lot of people jump on issues because there's good PR in it, and I think their intentions are good, but I think that there's pressured activism too, where it's like, oh, okay, all my friends' bands are doing this thing, I better do it, or people are gonna think I don't care about it. So people move quick on things, and then it does dissipate. And I don't know about you, but I've definitely been I'm trying to talk to bands about like we need to do like more long-term shit. Like maybe we should donate. We should come up with ways where like donate a little portion of a merch forever goes to a charity, or maybe we continue to do things like this, or you always run a store that has some sort of charitable thing to it. And I think it's important to keep keep artists engaged too, because you're like me, we have found some kind of platform to continue to fundraise. And I think we need to I think it's important now that we stay at it in some form, so yeah. But I definitely, I think for you now, like where you're at, your home, you've probably had a lot of time to think about what's going on. I would definitely love to give you a platform to talk about anything now too. I mean, as a person of color who's seen the whole world, who knows our whole world of the music community, who's very aware of the social events and the racial events that are happening, like, is there anything else you want to add to this conversation today? Like any other point you feel like you need to make while I have you on here?
That's a good question. I feel, it's kind of hard to like, being a person of color, but also for me, being a person of color, I can't, firsthand experience, I can't say that I felt, like some form of negative disadvantage of being a Hispanic or person of color, whichever you prefer, so I'm I've had that privilege of not falling under that. So, but like, you see it everywhere, and it's, when you go to another country and, you're technically like the oddball because you don't necessarily you know, you're not, you know, when you're in Japan, you're not, you know, I'm Hispanic, like you're kind of, you know, it's the elephant in the room, you know, but um, it's just, you know, and then you come back here and it's just kind of, I don't really know. It's just hard to explain for me, unfortunately. So
Yeah, I mean that's cool. I mean your actions are speaking louder than your words lately, man. And I think a lot of people a lot of the bands that work with you, and a lot of the kids who tag who click on those photos all the time, and you've definitely put action behind the work that you do in the background all the time. So I really do appreciate you, for everything that you're doing right now, and just for being a part of this and helping to promote this too. And
yeah,
we should just stay in touch and continue to talk about ways we could do a lot more
yeah.
long-term stuff, man. So
So I'm personally just been brainstorming. You know, I was in the shower earlier, just thinking of like, oh, like you know, I did this, and I was like, what's the next thing I can do going forward? And like, you know, like you said, like a continuation, like a forever type thing, like where you know, I can donate something once a month, every other month, whatever, you know. So, you know, hopefully something comes to mind. But yeah, it's something that I feel like it's something that just needs to keep going, you know, and like it's cool that like over the past 3 weeks, the hardcore community has raised so much money for this thing, so it's like I feel like that's something that could keep going, going forward. So
awesome, man. Well, dude, thank you for coming on here. I'd like to we should announce your giveaway too. If you haven't seen Gabe's print store, it's full of awesome photos that he's taken throughout his years touring with bands, and a lot of your favorite bands are probably in there. He's giving away two 16 by 20 posters of a photo of your choice from his collection. Go to the Gabe the Pigeon collection, check out some of these photos. I mean, he's documented basically everything that's been sick in the past few years, and this is a very cool giveaway. Having awesome live photos like this, from your favorite bands, easy to hang on a wall. So I love it. Really cool giveaway. Gabe, thank you again for being a part of this. I appreciate it. Yeah, dude, we'll talk soon.
Yes, take care.
Later, man. Gabe the Pigeon, everybody. Soundrink.live, a $10 charitable donation enters you into our giveaway raffle. Leave a note of the item you'd like to win, and if we pick your name, we'll give you that if it's still available. I should mention we're going to stop taking donations Tuesday night, it looks like. So I know a few people were asking, and then I will, as soon as that's done, when I wake up the next morning, we'll do the randomizer thing, and I'll start emailing all the winners. So in case you were wondering when you were going to find out, I think that's the plan right now. I appreciate everyone who's been donating. If you haven't yet and you've been watching this, please donate. I don't want to keep asking you, but I'm going to keep asking you. Please donate $10. And that's it. I'm going to take 2 minutes, and I'll be right back with Patrick Sheridan.